Okay, that character is stupid strong and stupid complicated. Jesus, this will take a while to explain everything, but the core of this Merlin thingy is her passive. So let's start discussing her passive. Oh boy. At the start of your turn, randomly applies one elemental debuff on the enemy that has no elemental debuff. Okay, so multiple debuffs can apply at the same time. The same debuff can apply on multiple enemies, as you can see right here in this footage. For every elemental effect increases all stats of Merlin by 7%. So 3 enemies, 1 debuff each, that means 21% stat increase. 21% of every stat. And before an ally attacks, you apply that same debuff effect again on the enemy. So if they have, let's say, fire debuff, they gain another stack of fire debuff. And you get that debuff for 3 turns. When there are 4 element effects on the enemy, remove them after your skill activation and apply the elemental debuff for 1 turn. So when the enemy has rock debuff, they get stunned. If they have fire debuff, they get extra damage equal to 50% of max HP. Yep, I'm not kidding. Water debuff will disable their attack skills, and wind will give them minus 100% crit chance. Oh boy. If you ask me, one of these 4 is more broken than the other 3, but maybe it's just me. And don't forget, this whole thing is RNG. So now that we understand her passive, by the way, don't work in death matches. So now that we understand her passive, let's start with skill 1, which is pretty basic. It's basically Green Gopher's attack. So all enemies and this evolving for 1 turn, 1 old cage orb with 120 damage. And on rank 2, the damage doesn't scale. It's still 120 damage, but it's 2 old cage orbs for 1 turn. Then you get 180 damage, 2 old cage orbs for 2 turns. Pretty basic Green Gopher stuff right here. But the important thing, it's AoE. So remember her passive, you're stacking elemental debuffs on every enemy. Second skill, now we're talking about Merlin's exclusive skill. This thing is absolutely unique in Grand Cross. It looks freaking amazing, not gonna lie. This is just eye candy, her attack. I mean, just look at the stuff. The multiplier on this thing is Elemental Explosion. This is new, so it scales with 40% of every elemental debuff. So let's say 3 elemental debuffs on the enemy, 120% more damage. And this thing is 130, 195 and 325. Pretty weird multiplier, but let's say there are already 3 elemental debuffs, so this thing is more than doubled. That means over 600% of attack AoE. And don't forget, for every freaking elemental debuff, her stats increases, like all her stats increases. I'm not even kidding, she is that strong. And finally, her ultimate, it's so stupid. And by stupid, I mean freaking strong. Okay. First of all, this thing looks amazing, like everything on Merlin. Her whole moveset is eye candy, but that thing is like on Madara level. She summons 4 planets and throws them at the enemies, so you can tell it's an AoE. But okay, what's actually doing? Randomly applies 1 elemental effect that does not overlap with the current effect on all enemies. So let's say they all have fire, they all get another random one which is not fire on them. So that means more stat buffs for Merlin, because there is no limitation for her 7% increase of all stats. Okay, calming down. And this thing also scales with Elemental Explosion, so that means extra damage for every element debuff applied on the enemy. So, and you start with 350%, but the multiplier is just 5% in the beginning. This thing scales up to the normal 40% of her basic attack. So when this thing is 6/6, you apply 4 random things. Basically every debuff on the earth you apply, and I can't even tell you. Just look at this thing. What the fuck? Okay, where do you use her? Hell, where do you not use her? A beast in PvP. I didn't even play PvP, but Holy moly, tell me that she's not a beast. A beast in PvE? A beast everywhere? I really don't know what to say. I'm sitting here already talking for 10 minutes about this Merlin. What the fuck? I never did a guide that extended on a character. Holy cow. How do you build her? Somebody built her tanky. Somebody built her attack crit damage. I went for the tanky stuff. Oh boy, can't wait for the PvP test. Holy cow. That's her basic stats, not super awakened and without any gear. Yeah, that Merlin is just stupid strong. 100% must pull. I would even say must maxed. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Keep an eye on my channel because I'm 100% certain gonna summon her on global and I 100% gonna do a lot of PvP stuff with her. Jesus. Hype. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, Zeldris for president. I see you in the next one and scoot.